Hello again and welcome to the fourth hour. Really nice to have you along. I appreciate it. And you know what happens? I start preparing for this, and I was at townhall.com and I was watching some videos of some stuff that was going on in Congress yesterday, and it's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. You watch this stuff and I get so sucked into that because honestly, I can't believe what I'm seeing more times than not. So I've got a number of things that I want to share with you here this morning as we get underway. My computer's a little bit slow, so my apologies. Let's start at Fox News and Senator John Fetterman. Senator Fetterman calling out his own party after the president's speech before Congress. This is a big story this week, is the way Democrats behaved. And so Fetterman was on The View yesterday, and he was talking about this. I want to pick up at least a few portions of this for you. Where's the audio? I had it. Let's start over.
Senator John Fetterman may be the new brand that Democrats desperately need. Here he is on The View after he was accused of, quote, cozying up to Trump.
Yeah.
There are those on the left who feel like you have made a rightward shift recently, going to Mar-a-Lago, joining Truth Social, your positions on issues
A shift
like
toward
immigration,
common
fracking.
sense.
What do you say to those who are now, in a sense, questioning your commitment to the Democratic Party?
That's just happened not to be true. I've been on record, too, saying I am not going to become a Republican. You know, although maybe some people might be
on some issues he's not.
Side, but I would make a pretty terrible Republican. I can't keep chasing down every last thing that's online because they're just happen not to be true. And just look at my votes. Look at the things that I haven't changed in a way.
Okay, first of all, I can't do that. I can't look at votes. I'm watching social media. Senator Fetterman. I can't be bothered to actually look at your votes. He, of course, I'm being facetious. He, of course, is absolutely right. Look at his votes. And on some issues, does he wind up, supporting the president? Absolutely. On every issue, far from it. He is what I would have called at one point an old school Democrat. He's an old school Democrat. A common sense, he's got common sense. He's not taking leave of his senses. And that's what makes him so unusual. And especially this is why the women on The View have a hard time wrapping their arms around Senator Fetterman. But he continued. Let's continue this piece.
He also defended President Trump and the actions that he's taken in the first week of his presidency.
Well, of course he did.
He's been doing essentially what he actually campaigned on early on. Immediately after the election, I was like, hey, we have a choice. We can freak out and follow every other thing around,
right.
Like a cat, with a laser, after everyone. But I'm not that guy. I'm not going to be that Democrat. For me, there's things I'm going to agree with. I'm going to disagree with. But I'm in the business of finding wins for Pennsylvania and for the nation and engaging the president. I think I see that as doing.
Who can argue with this?
And well said.
Cheryl, how refreshing.
Tepid applause on The View for Senator John Fetterman. But I'm trying to see if there's anything else here. Because he was pretty tough on the clown show that we saw during the president's speech the other night. And he said on X of Democrats, a sad cavalcade of cell phones and unhinged petulance. It only makes Trump look more presidential and restrained, which he did. And I think in part we see that because Trump, I believe, was affected by that assassination attempt. I think he hit seriously. It was a wake-up call for him. And so Fetterman says we're becoming the metaphorical car alarms that nobody pays attention to. And it may not be the winning message, he said. So I think Fetterman at least from my perspective, John Fetterman is just a breath of fresh air in the Democrat Party. There are very few that you can look toward in the Democrat Party who are at least, anywhere near common sense or have their feet on the ground and are not behaving in just some crazy kind of manner. Fetterman is, and it may be one of the reasons why I've already seen stories about Fetterman may be the Democrats' best chance to run for president. I thought, well, that was interesting. Certainly, he's going to appeal to a lot more people. I think Fetterman will than you see a lot of other Democrats, because where the party's at right now is just in quicksand. Also from Fox News, other Democrats who are responding to what happened during the president's address the other night. And forgive me, I should have started at the top of the story, because the headline is Democrats are turning on each other over what was going on during Trump's speech. And so Democrats now displaying their own internal party divisions. Moderate Democrats especially are upset when senior House Democrat said people are pissed at leadership too. Everyone is mad at everyone. Representative George Latimer of New York said he believes the outbursts were inappropriate. When a president, my president, your president, is speaking, we don't interrupt. We don't pull those stunts. You had Representative Al Green, who had to be escorted out of there. Another centrist, Representative Jared Golden of Maine, said, I didn't take that approach myself, so obviously I don't condone it. If anyone is thinking that it was an effective strategy, they're probably in an echo chamber. My take is that the average American thought the optics were pretty bad. Oh, yeah, Al Green, give me just standing up. And another Democrat from New York, Tom Suzy, saying, I think it was a big mistake. I'm an old school, traditional type guy. I think we should be treating the president with deference. So I think it was inappropriate. And then I already mentioned John Fetterman. He said, I don't think that's the way forward. And then again, DJ Daniel really stole the show. There are the Democrats with their signs. I got my sign. It's just absolutely incredible. So I think that's pretty much the take. But so you got Democrats responding to Democrats. And again, I always pay attention to that when you've got Democrats who are responding to Democrats and more kind of centrist voices. I think they deserve to be heard. Not everybody in the Democratic Party is crazy. It just seems that way most. It just seems that way most of the time. Okay. Also, as we were talking this morning about what's going on with Hamas and the hostages, Hamas now refusing to release 2 more hostages. They want the phase 2 ceasefire deal. So Hamas still, it's believed that Hamas has 24 hostages, living hostages, still. And so today they dismissed the president's latest threat. We talked about that at length on the show this morning. They're saying the best path forward, they believe, to free the remaining Israeli hostages is through negotiations. Again, you've been negotiating for a year and a half. When does that time end? When is that time over? When does that come to a stop? After a year and a half? I mean, could we agree that it's time they need to release the hostages or somebody needs to unleash holy hell on them. That's where, that's where I've arrived. I'm not a warmonger. I'm really not. Might sound that way, certainly today. Like I'm a warmonger, but I really am not. I don't know that there's anything new here beyond what I shared this morning, other than that headline and their latest comments. The president has been very clear. Trying to see if there's anything new on the president's True Social account this morning. This hour, the president said massive trade deficit with the world just announced. Compliments of sleepy Joe Biden. I will change that. And then I saw this earlier this morning, the president had said, the fake play the ref news in order to create a divide between me and our great U.S. Supreme Court heard me say last night. So this actually was after his address. So he posted this yesterday. So the president saying that the fake news heard me say last night loudly and openly as I was walking past the justices on my way to the podium. Thank you to Chief Justice John Roberts. Like most people, I don't watch fake news CNN or MSDNC, but I understand they are going crazy asking, what is it that I was thanking Justice Roberts for? They never called my office to ask, of course, but if they would have, I would have told these sleazebag journalists that I thanked him for swearing me in on Inauguration Day and doing a really good job in so doing. The fake news never quits, the president says. So that's among his latest posts this morning at True Social. Now there are this is pretty wild. This is a piece from Town Hall and what was going on during you had Democrat mayors who were in front of it's a House committee, and the questioning, it was pretty crazy. So Town Hall has got some reporting on this as to what was happening, and you had the Michelle Wu, who was there, the mayor of Boston, and pretty incredible. But this is rather lengthy. But you've got Jim Jordan here asking questions of the mayor of Denver, Mike Johnston, about jails refusing to comply with ICE detainers. And he asks them about this. And what it boils down to, you've got the mayor of Denver, and Jordan kind of takes his time getting to the question. I want to come into this a little bit, and then I'll share it with you. Let's pick it up here, maybe a little bit further, because he goes on for a little bit. Here you go.
Gang member who allegedly stole a car, menaced people, and assaulted people. Give us a 48-hour heads up.
48 hours.
Is that right? That refresh your memory?
I do know about the detainer request. I do know that we provided a notification of release.
What kind of notice did you give ICE when you released him?
We gave him notification. I'm not sure how long in advance it was. I do know that.
1 hour.
I do know that there were
1 hour notice, and you released him 5 days ago, right? Why not give him more heads up? Actually, let's put the slide up. Let's see what it says here. Let's put the slide up. This is what the Denver Sheriff's Department, it's kind of hard to see, so I'll read it. It says, Denver Sheriff Department, ICE notification being released to the streets. I simply said, just release him to us. You release him to the streets. Why not release him to ICE?
Thank you. What we've done, and we do this regularly, we've done 1,226 of these, is we notify
I'm
ICE.
asking about one. I'm not asking about the 1,200. I'm asking about Mr. Abraham Gonzalez, who's a gang member.
Now listen to this, because it's just absolutely amazing. These Democrats who cannot answer a question, you ask them a very straight question, and that's what Congressman Jordan is doing here, asking a very straight question. Why did you release him to the streets? Why did we get only 1 hour's notice? You see, this is what the Democrats do. Oh, we're complying. We're complying. We're in compliance. We notified you an hour before they released him to the streets. And that's compliance? I mean, that is, all they wanted was, hold on to him, let us know. 48 hours in advance, let us know. And no, they release him an hour notice, and then release him to the streets.
From Venezuela, stole a car, assaulted someone. You had him in your custody for how long?
I know that we released him.
345 days you had him in custody. And I said, hey, can you give us 48 hours heads up?
I don't know.
You gave him 1 hour notice.
Mr. Congressman, we notified them and released. There were 6 ICE agents present when he was released, so they had enough time to respond and to be present.
Respond where?
To the jail where we released him from. So we released him we notified them of the release time. When we notify them of release, they come to the jail facility to pick them up.
Why
still
didn't you say that's not what you said? You said you released him to the streets. Did you release him to the streets? You release him to ICE?
What we do, sir, is we release him from our county jail, and we coordinate with ICE on that release time and release date. So that
Say again, Democrats cannot answer a question. So did you release him to ICE, or did you release him to the streets? Your documents say you released him to the streets. Which did you do? Can't answer. This is the mayor of Denver.
ICE can come and pick them up from that location.
Pick them up where? In the parking lot?
Yes, sir. They're on the facility
Guess
property.
what happened in the parking lot?
I know, sir. I've reviewed the video. So I looked at it. I've talked to the sheriff last night.
One of the ICE officers got assaulted, didn't he?
I reviewed the video,
They had
sir.
to tase the guy, didn't they?
Won't answer the
Would you like to
question.
answer, sir?
No, I'd like you to answer. Did they tase him?
I know that there were 6 officers that had multiple tasers. I saw the
So they had
detention on
6
video.
officers. If you keep him in the facility and they come in the facility and get him, does it take 6 officers? Probably takes 2, doesn't it?
So we've been doing these, as I mentioned, 1,224 times.
Yeah, and getting it wrong, I would bet, every single time. Getting it wrong every single time. It is just absolutely incredible. You watch that stuff, and it's just, to me, it's just absolutely jaw-dropping. And that was just one of the mayors that was testifying before Congress yesterday. And honestly, I didn't spend a lot of time on it during the show this morning because it's a clown show. I mean, these Democrats, it's an absolute clown show. And there are other things that are happening that I think that many of us care more about. Democrats are in front of Congress again, and they're behaving, Democrat mayors, and behaving stupidly. Yeah. And who's shocked by that? Nobody. I mean, it's the same old thing that we see over and over again. That is pretty incredible. Okay, I will also, DJ Daniel, what an incredible story. The New York Post has got this. So remember DJ Daniel, honored by the president the other night, came to the Oval Office yesterday, and there are photos in here. There's him holding up the Secret Service credentials. There he is, hugging President Trump yesterday in the Oval Office. Pretty neat moment between the two of them. He said he wanted to give the president a hug. Pretty cool. And he said, well, and this is his father saying that he had one more thing to add, saying, if you're a Democrat and you're being mean to President Trump, I'm on your bumper. He's going to be on a lot of people's bumpers, I think, unfortunately. Also, the vice president has been busy here this week after the president's speech the other night. The vice president was went to Eagle Pass, Texas, and he was there along with Pete Hegseth and Tulsi Gabbard. And you see the photo. Here's Tulsi Gabbard right here, and the vice president then talking, and he said, I think the president's hope is that by the end of the term, we will build the entire border wall. Now he's speaking of the physical structure of the border wall. But he goes on to talk about the fact that the wall can be more than just an actual physical wall. And I appreciate this. We have talked about this previously. And so he's saying of the wall, he said, that's the physical structure, the border wall itself. But we even heard today there are so many technological tools, so many great, AI enabled technologies that allow us, for example, a camera, not a person, but a camera picks up somebody 2 miles away who's about to come across the southern border. We're using AI to make us better at the job of border enforcement, but we've got to make sure that technology is deployed across the entire southern border. We're going to do it as much as we can, as broadly as we can, because that's how we're going to protect the American people's security. Pretty wild. So you had Secretary Hegseth there saying border security is national security. We're sending those folks home. We're not letting any more in. And you're seeing that right now. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said Texas serves as a model for border security. Now with a partner in the White House, law enforcement at all levels of government can work together to defend our southern border and put an end to the unprecedented border crisis created by the Biden administration. Yeah, it's just crazy. So I thought you might appreciate that update from the vice president. Also, there was a final story that I'm going to share with you also here this morning. The president is moving now to revoke temporary protected status for over 240,000 Ukrainian refugees. So as you get down into this, now, again, why is the president doing this? Why is the president doing this now, going after Ukrainian refugees? And this is Lebby Emmons, I think, writing at Post Millennial. He's been tightening the screws on Ukraine's Zelensky to encourage him to engage in a peace process. The two men met on Friday, and you know what happened with that debacle. But that's why the president likely is doing this, trying to, get Ukraine to knock it off and to come to the table. So DHS also expected to cancel the temporary protected status for Venezuelans, Cubans, Nicaraguans, all of whom were given preferential treatment under the Biden administration. And Emmons writes, much of what the Biden administration did to curb illegal immigration was to create more legal statuses for migrants and immigrants, refugees, asylum seekers, those who had family in the U.S., all of the unaccompanied minors, all of that were given pathways then to legal status rather than responding forcefully. They're in the country illegally. And you respond to that, and the Biden administration failed just on a number of fronts. All right. Thank you, my friend. You are part of my gallery of champions. You made it to the end of the video. I want to thank you so much for being here. Please come back tomorrow. If you would hit that like button before you leave. I really do appreciate that very much. Very few of you do it, but it's very deeply appreciated, and it helps get this out in front of other people. And that's part of the difficulty that I have is, if you want to grow numbers, I need to hit that like button so more people see it and participate and become a part of our group and what we're doing. And my numbers on Facebook, I was seeing some surge, and it's really kind of tapering off. And a big part of it is, hitting that like button and letting people know that you enjoy the content so that they'll give it a look too. We'll leave it there for today. Thanks so much for letting me join you back again tomorrow. Hope to see you then. Have a great Thursday.